Okay, what I'd like
I'm
to,
sorry, are you ready, sir, or? You good, okay.
Okay.
should we start again?
An agenda. There we go.
It's the agenda. Hey, you guys. Okay, so, we have a couple of additions to the agenda. When this, special meeting got scheduled, the intent was to basically have the board get together, and, have a, phone conversation with our labor lawyer to talk about all of the contracts that expired over a year ago, 2 years ago. Actually, 2012, there's no contract. They expired at the end of 2011. So there's been no contract for any bargaining unit for all of 2012 and going into the future. Well, I would have loved to have gotten started, well, actually, I would have loved to have walked in with contracts on the table.
And actually, even before you keep going though, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the
No,
agenda.
no, but no, I haven't got to the point. I'm gonna amend the agenda.
Oh, you're gonna amend it? Oh, I
Yes.
apologize.
So I was making a little statement about
Oh,
the
I
purpose of tonight's
apologize.
meeting.
I thought you were going right into it.
No. So,
What about the pledge?
oh, we want, oh, right, we should do the pledge before
Yeah.
you're right. Sorry, can we all sit for the pledge? Sorry, Jean, thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Jean.
Okay, continue,
Okay,
Susan.
thank you. So anyway, all I was saying is it would have been wonderful if we had contracts, but we don't. So we have to negotiate this existing year and going forward. We have all the contracts. The hope was to try to do it early on in the beginning of the year, but we couldn't negotiate contracts in good faith until we had a sense of the financial well-being of the town. And we didn't get a handle on that until the annual report was done in the end of the summer. So here we are, we've got all the contracts, and we need to sort of get a sense of where the board wants to go as we enter into negotiations, in terms of what parameters. So that was why tonight was scheduled. So all you see on this agenda is discussion on contract negotiations. But since then, the Park Point project started to move forward, and the pilot for this project has become a discussion, which the town board will have to take an active role in. So Kitty had asked for us to add this to the agenda, so we will add this for tonight and start the meeting with actually talking about this. We needed to do, authorize my ability to sign something for the community partnership. We have 2 prepays that we need to add, and we're being asked tonight to speak with our recycling coordinator, Laura Pettit, to take care of some of her budget woes that she had based on the last year's budget that was never accepted and left her in a real crisis because it never funded her personnel line adequately nor her equipment line. So she'd like to ask us to help her sort that out. So with those amendments, would I have a motion to accept the agenda as amended?
I will move to amend that we add the Park Point, the community partnership in kind hours, and the lower budget modifications,
Okay, and the prepays?
and the prepays, I
Okay, great.
apologize.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, or any
Aye.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Okay, so, let's start with Park Point, and then Laura will get to you after, if that's okay. So basically what we have, is the town is, the Park Point project, does have to negotiate a payment in lieu of taxes.
No.
No, go ahead. I'll turn it over to you, Kitty. Why don't you,
Well, I mean,
we have to.
They don't have to,
No,
they're asking.
They're asking,
They're
right, right.
requesting.
They're requesting a payment in lieu of taxes.
so, as Paul Brown is quoted in today's newspaper, he raises the question of whether or not the project is eligible for a pilot. And that's something that I think we need to talk about tonight, is just understanding how the draft environmental impact statement in the economic and fiscal section assumes a schedule of pilot payments. And there's a whole sort of chicken and egg question here, which is that if that is accepted, then it does seem to me as if the town is kind of bound by those numbers. And I think we need to either get an independent consultant to help us determine whether or not the town must enter into a pilot agreement, and if so, if the DEIS should be considered complete when we have not completed our negotiations on those numbers.
And I think in just answering this both from a member of the board and also I've been to very few meetings I've missed as far as planning board meetings and also ZBA meetings, just being in liaison to the planning board. One is, I'm not sure, Susan, if you forwarded them to him or we got a opinion from George. I had asked it and he answered back that the DEIS part of it is definitely part of the pilot. So in the pilot, which
I mean,
is
the pilot's part of the DEIS.
right, so it's in there, so they can deem it as incomplete, and they can take the DEIS and say it's complete except for the fiscal analysis part of the DEIS. So they can deem part of it complete and deem the DEIS incomplete if you read George's email. I think my one concern is, and if we're going to send a letter to the planning board, they are planning on closing. I had spoken to the chairman, and he would like to close it in their mid-December meeting. I would like to see it kept open, the public comment period open, until we get the pilot to see what the pilot is applied for, because Wilmerite has every right to put in, so to speak, the worst-case scenario for the town. So what would be the greatest amount of the pilot they're requesting? And then that would be their application fee. Now, I don't know enough, and Kevin, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. Do you know, are there large application fees when you apply for a pilot, or?
There's a pretty significant fee, and there's a pretty significant attorney's fee that you reimburse the law firm representing the IDA. So there's pretty significant fees.
Significant meaning, what would your, you're talking about a $50 million project here plus, so is it significant against 50 million, or is it significant against dollar amounts?
Well, it's not significant against 50 million, but it's still substantial. It could be into the $50,000 to $100,000 range, easily.
That's significant.
No, I'm not gonna debate that one bit. So I think my concern is, though, is that the DEIS clearly states that, and if you go through, and I asked everyone, I see Susan printed up, you know, the fiscal impact analysis is one of the key parts to look at. And I agree with Kitty, I'm a little bit questioning some of the numbers, and I'm wondering, I would like to see our planning board go to outside analysis for the fiscal impacts of Wilmerite and Park Point.
I'd like to ask you a question. How have we in the past measured and made a determination about the consumption of services for a particular project? Have we tried an outside consultant ever, or is it just kind of off the cuff analysis?
The only time we have successfully negotiated any pilot at all was with Woodland Pond, and basically we were, well, that was way after the fact.
No,
I mean,
I'm just saying the community center was,
Right.
was a
But that
pilot.
wasn't, you just came in on a white horse way after the fact
Right.
and said, by the way, could we have something?
And
But-
Well,
but
no,
we
I'll
did
go back
not-
and tell you what happened with that.
Well,
Go
we
ahead.
can, but that's.
Yeah, but go ahead.
But the only
Right.
time that we actually sat down with an applicant, and they sat on one side of the table and the town sat on the other, was with Woodland Pond. And we already had pretty much a schedule that had been prepared, I don't know by whom actually. And the school district, the village, the town, and Kingston Regional Health or whoever it was,
Yeah.
all sat around the table. And we were happy that it was only a 10-year pilot as opposed to a 20-year. But, you know, it basically said that after year 3, and it's in here on my computer somewhere, they would contribute this much, and there was a sort of prorated amount that went up every year. And after 10 years, it would be, I assume, a fully taxable project. and we were able to say, well, could you buy a new police vehicle at year 5, and I think a new ambulance at year 7. If they had said no, I'm not at all clear that any of the taxing authorities would have had any leverage to say, well, you have to. And that's the part of the whole IDA process I don't understand.
And I think Kevin's asking a very key question, and then Susan can unfortunately give you some bad history. And Kevin, you're asking the exact right question, which is, New Paltz has never done, in my opinion, due diligence on any of the pilots that come into our community. We've accepted Bible and verse what's been presented. I came in late to Woodland Pond. I wasn't very active with Susan, unfortunately, a couple times, was very active with Kingston Regional Health, and we got something, but there is a good example of that is a gift that keeps on taking. We're now spending $100,000+ a year to maintain something that was quote unquote given to us. So pilots need to be formed in a completely different mindset now, and I guess our question is, and you know, unfortunately, I think we're going to be leaning on a couple people here that have more experience in this, whether it be real estate and negotiating.
You know, I think,
What can we,
the biggest,
what can we negotiate
well,
and
let me-
when
the
on the
biggest
pilot?
problem with pilots that I've seen so far is that under a pilot, the applicant basically calculates what he thinks will be his cost of services and comes up with a schedule to cover those. Now, in the case of Woodland Pond, they turn out to have been grossly underestimated. But even so, all we end up with in the best possible case is that it doesn't cost us anything. But the purpose of an IDA, of a business growth plan, it seems to me, is that we add a new business that helps lessen everybody's burden. You and I don't get to sit down and calculate how much do I cost the town, that's how much in taxes I'm gonna pay, right? We all contribute far more than we actually cost. And the fundamental flaw in the whole pilot system, it seems to me, is that even if they are generous in their estimates of what they will cost, they have no impact on community-wide costs.
Has anybody done the analysis on what the revenue would be on this project if it's fully assessed with no pilot?
And I think what you're asking, Kevin, is the exact right question, and we haven't. So what we need to do is have our assessor fully value these units. Now,
And see what we're giving
Well,
them.
and Kitty asked a very
It's
key-
being described as a $50 million project.
and Kitty said a very key thing, which is, over the summer, the IDA did something very interesting where they now have a category of dormitories, and this is where they would apply that student
Possibly.
housing possible dormitory. So I don't see how you could possibly get a draft environmental impact statement if we don't know what you're going to call the units and what is the value. It's just that if you kind of read through the report, and it looks like just throw out a horseshoe number, but if we're gonna be given $100,000 a year, that's grossly south of the impact 700 and, this is what we'll call it, rounded off, 700 people are going to have on our community. And just based on number of rooms, if you just base it solely off of the current population, a few weeks ago at a planning board meeting, you know, we were trying to talk about numbers. You know, the impact on police is being figured on a number that our police chief was just asked. Now, I just feel it's very unfair to be asking our police chief, who is, I have absolutely no question about his abilities to manage a police force and keep us safe, doing investigations. I think we are fortunate for what we have. But then to ask someone like that, what are the potential fiscal impacts of adding 700 people? You've now taken someone out of their realm of ability. You know, that's beyond their ability, and I think that's why we need to bring in someone that this is what they do. They study the fiscal impacts of what do 700 residents do to a community, to a police force, a fire department, an ambulance. Because as we discovered, these are all roundabout numbers, but even using numbers that are in the DEIS from Wilmerite is, for the current population, it's about 1/3 of the population requires ambulance, fire, police. You dial 911 from your cell phone, you're not automatically going to get the SUNY PD, and in fact, SUNY has made a decision that any time an alarm goes off on any SUNY campus, it rolls the fire department. No, period, no negotiation there. So
Right.
if someone pops an alarm, now this is going to be, is it private? It's on foundation land, but it's a private road, it's a private property. They say they have an agreement for the SUNY PD to respond, but yet the union for the SUNY PD, as we all know, has declared, no, that's not the case. We don't go off of campus. This would be off of campus.
Yeah.
You dial 911, you're going to dispatch the county system will dispatch closest unit would be either New Paltz PD or sheriff or state PD. So these are all the expenses. Is it gonna cost us one extra officer one extra officer per shift really means 4 or 5 officers. In reality, that's just because of the way shifts work and time off. So these are the things that I can't answer. I don't know if any of us are prepared to answer that, and it's a high cost.
Did you ask Carol to print the, I had questions about several areas of the impact statement that, you did print the, fiscal impact
Yeah.
analysis from Will, but not
Yep.
my comments.
I wasn't here
Okay.
today, and Carol just got back, and she was taking care of the insurance,
Okay,
whatever, so
so-
I can't answer that. I mean, I can answer some, there are some things I can though, and I know that you sent some questions to, George Lithgow, who said he would get answers, he
Yeah.
just couldn't do it because he had
That
a,
was about the pilot, but I
Mhm.
have a 7-page, when I went through here,
Uh-huh.
there are lots of issues,
Mhm.
and, I think it would not, be in the, I don't think we'd be doing our due diligence if we don't look at all of the issues
Mhm.
that are raised by this,
Mhm.
analysis. So I would like to bring this into Carol and ask if she can print
I
it.
thought she left, she
Oh.
did leave,
No, she is, sorry.
Oh.
she did leave.
She ran away, which is good.
Well,
because
well,
I've been
7
here all
o'clock at
day.
night, I mean,
Yeah.
I think, she has a right to
She has every
leave.
right to, yes.
I might have printed that, Kitty, I'm not sure. I mean, we can print it. I can go in a few minutes and print it if you
Okay.
want. Let me just say a few things, and then I can go print it if you want. I'm gonna get to this specific, but I just wanna go back on the pilots in general, just my own little experience, just to explain, Kevin, too. Just with the communities, with Dr. Meshi's, it's an interesting little bit of a story in a sense that, when I came in, obviously that project was already on the table, and I didn't realize it was that Dr. Meshi's was not-for-profit, and one of our most important pieces of property, across the street from ShopRite was gonna be a tax-exempt project. So I flipped out when I found out, and I was actually remembering Carol Roper saying to me, Susan, everybody knew that. I was like, well, I didn't. Okay, and so when I met with Dr. Meshi's once to talk, I was told, we can't get anything, it's a not-for-profit, they're entitled to the not-for-profit status, you can't get anything out of them. But I was able to get him to agree to possibly do this water loop, which ultimately he agreed to, but it's never came to fruition. But anyway, when Kevin Betty, when First Columbia, what ended up happening was Dr. Meshi's was gonna build, the facility, but then he wanted to do something in Ellenville, and he didn't wanna carry the carrying costs, I think, for this project. So he brought First Columbia in, who was building it, had them lease the property, and stuff, and similar to, I think, what Wilmerite's doing in the sense of leasing, this not-for-profit property. But, so when Kevin came in and met with me the first time, he made a comment like, well, you already have the pilot, with Dr. Meshi's, you have the water loop. And I looked at him and I said, oh, wait a second, time out. Dr. Meshi's was not-for-profit. The water loop was out of the goodness of his heart. You're for-profit. Trust me, you're negotiating a pilot and stuff. And it was just like, no, you're negotiating a pilot. At the time, we had already had to deal with the school district we had already conveyed the land to the town for $1 to build a community center on the property. The question was, how are we gonna get a community center built without going back to the taxpayers? So I came up with this crazy idea of having First Columbia build the community center. And I asked Dr. Meshi, I asked Kevin Betty, and he was sort of like, okay, I'll do architectural plans for $15,000. Now, I had asked the school district to allow me to negotiate on their behalf. And at the time, believe it or not, that this is how bad we are as a community on pilots. At the time, the school district was getting for a pilot from Dr. Meshi's the ability to let kids in the school district do internships at his place if they were gonna do pre-med, okay? And I said to the school district, that's your pilot? You know, that should be just a benefit, okay? And so they said, no, that's what we're doing. Then what ended up happening is when they found out that they were only gonna be able to do the internships while the pilot was in, you know, the 25 years, that when those 25 years were up, then they couldn't do it, the school district got mad. I asked again, can I negotiate on behalf of the school district and the town? And they said, go for it. So I went back to Kevin Betty, and he said, we're gonna do the architecture plans. And over 6 months, every meeting I asked for more and more and more, and then we ended up getting the community center, and that's how we got that. That was the first time I was told by Thornton Tillo, who was county legislator at the time, that any town had ever actually asked to get involved to negotiate a pilot, where before what happened, Kevin, was the county would grant an IDA, the town would never even know about it, they would never even know about the public hearings, they wouldn't even have any information, the county would go do the negotiation, and usually the communities would get screwed.
They did their own thing.
They did their own thing. So this was literally the first time that a community had actually gotten something.
And I don't think
Okay.
you actually negotiated through the IDA.
No, I didn't directly.
I mean, you were
I
just
did it-
incredibly strong to get the developer to sit down at the table with you. But,
Yes,
you know,
so-
the pilot,
Can I-
you-
Right, well, so I think, but I
we
think,
never
I think,
got
I
a
think we're the,
chance to implement the
I think we're the
pilot.
opportunity this time though, okay?
well, here's what's changed since then, is that, you know, and that's the other thing that's missing from the impact analysis, is that we haven't even held a public hearing on the pilot yet, which will be held in our town. So I don't see how this can be considered complete.
So let me go to a couple of
Those
steps now.
steps.
So one of the things I'm trying to get a handle on, and that's why I called Marge Gallagher, she works for the executive and handles all the economic development and stuff, because in this year's county executive's budget, he's taking the UCDC and the IDA, I think, in-house.
Yes.
Okay, so now that he's taking the IDA in-house, I called Marge Gallagher, I am pretty sure will be in charge of it, to sort of sit down with her, and I'm more than happy to make the meeting with you, Kitty, you know, and Jeff, if you want to come too, to sit to her and say, okay, if the county's taking it over, how are you handling it? How do you plan on changing it? What's going to be your interaction? But really, ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to work with the town, and the town has to be your partner in this, and you cannot do it without us, which I don't think they will, okay?
Well, there's a whole,
But I have more to say, but go ahead.
okay, there's just an inherent contradiction in the IDA, because if you had a chance to look at the minutes of the August
Mhm.
15th meeting, which I'm upset
Yeah.
that you were not notified about,
Mhm.
because
Yeah, I
you
called
were,
to
you
go
were
up, I
on
called
the
to go,
agenda.
yes.
You were on the agenda for August 1st. They canceled that meeting, and then they held it August 15th and said nobody was here for public comment. So,
But then they said there was one that Sogdy showed up 2 weeks later.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
but the point was,
but
I had called that one to go at 8:30 in the
embedded
morning.
within there, the chair of the IDA says this is a home rule issue. And yet, it seems like the home rule doesn't kick in until 95% of the
Until it's too late.
conditions
Well, that's why,
have
but
been
see,
agreed on.
that's why I want to meet with March to sort of say, okay, you have the idea under the structure of Dave O'Halloran and the board and
I
whatever.
would request that meeting be held at a town board
Okay,
meeting
so
in
We could,
public.
yeah, but the only problem with that is the next town board meeting is not until the third week of December.
Maybe
so-
we should have one the second Thursday of December and just devote it to, if we ask,
That's fine with me.
Have Marge come down.
I mean, we
Yeah.
could, if it's feasible for her, we
Do-
could do that. I mean, we've been having an awful lot of meetings, but you know,
Does-
and I don't think we have money in the budget for all the things, but it's
Well,
okay.
We'll make it
It's,
work.
it's okay, I'm okay, I'm
It'll have
okay.
to
It
be
doesn't, you know,
Does
but I can do that.
anybody know how the project has been scored so far?
Well, no, we don't have a score.
But
to
they
it.
must know what the score is.
Well, if you
Through
go
the
in,
IDA?
it's funny.
That I don't know.
And that's what bothers me. And if anyone hasn't done it, just go onto the website. The scoring sheet is there. It's very simple. And Kevin, this is why I think you need to do it too, because the majority, well, the reason is because the majority of the score comes to you from data provided to you by the developer. Now, I'm not saying the developer has any suspect data, but I'm saying that the developer has an interest in raising their score to lengthen the time and generate a greater percentage of
Savings.
IDA
Savings.
savings. So, for example, a huge amount of their score, and again, this is just me going on, and I printed it up, and the majority of a large portion of their score comes from the economic benefit that they feel they'll be producing between 2 years of construction jobs and ongoing jobs within the community. I don't know if that is as factual as they're saying it is. And I think if we brought in someone who does this, they can go and look at Wilmerite's impact on Rochester and look at Wilmerite's impact on Syracuse, because it has to be documented, because you have to then go back and prove that you've done what you said you're going to do. So I'm sure someone could go back.
And just as an added note, both of those projects have retail on site, which
Right.
does contribute in a way, and that's something I hope we can negotiate. I would
Yeah.
like to see some kind of employment opportunity right on site.
Okay, so let me, if I can go through just a few more things. In terms of the actual impact analysis, I was asked to go to a meeting 2 days ago, with Dave Clauser, with George Lithgow, with some of the people from Wilmerite, to talk about really more the water system and the town's involvement in the water system and sewer system, which I need to talk to you about, because we technically have to create a water district. And so that is a part of this. Okay, so I want to get into that for a second too.
Or we
which-
can ignore that, though, by the, just interrupt you, we cannot create a water district. They can own it on their own, and under New
No,
York
but-
State home rule, they can actually just create their own, that they're gonna apply through different state agency.
No, I think
But that's,
actually,
that's right in, it's right in the.
yeah, but actually that was a conversation that was had about
That's
the
in the
ability-
DEIS.
about whether or not they could circumvent the board, or whether, and I think what was might have been decided, but I don't want to say it was decided. I think George Lithgow's interpretation was, if we choose not to do it, they have to go to the zoning board to get a variance in order to be able, I think it's a municipal law that there has to be a water district created, and so therefore they'd have to go for a zoning variance. That was a whole conversation about the,
Right, 'cause it's.
so we have, I think, and it would have been great to
Yeah.
have George here, so if we do the meeting on the second
Yeah.
Friday, I'd like George to be here, because there was a lot of things George was brought up and was asking, and George was questioning, and ideas that George was throwing out relative to the water system that I'll tell you about in a second, but he couldn't be here tonight because he's got a really big case and stuff. So I think it might be good, then, those questions in terms of what we can and can't do, and what the choices are, we should really have a full vetted discussion. So we should invite him and Marge together to be here, and I think it would be a very productive meeting. But in that conversation, we got into a little bit into the impact analysis, and I did comment about a lot of the fiscal numbers. And I said that I had great concern with the police numbers, that right now, that I had commented about, you commented last time about the $2,000 and how low it was, and I said that it was based on the SUNY police, campus police doing this. And I said that, twofold. I've heard that there's been some conversation of whether or not this is campus land and whether the union will allow them to go here. And so that has to be fully vetted, and that has to be in writing, in a contract. Because I said, I will not trust the union, based on.
Susan, these are all items that should go in our, so I've
Well,
got
well-
the 7-page thing, but I
Mhm.
think that, I think that, these
Add 'em.
discussions, if we
Yeah.
can just memorialize
Oh,
them in
absolutely.
some way,
So I
so
just,
we know
so
what
yes,
we're.
yeah, so I want.
So a big question about police is.
Is absolutely, and one of the things that was, I told them that they were asked to do was, basically a worst-case scenario that we wanted to see, that if, that basically, if you didn't count the SUNY campus police, and I agree with you, Jeff, in terms of the questions that were asked, if you read through this, the questions that were asked, really what needs to be asked of the chief is, if the campus police were not to go here, okay, and it was New Paltz police, what is the impact on your manpower? Do we have to hire extra police? If we do, how many extra police? That, there are questions that need to be asked of the chief that were not asked by Wilmerite, not because they weren't asked, by the consultant, not because the
Right.
questions were asked deceptively. They were asked under an assumption that the campus police would do it. And so when, the chief was asked, well, the campus police are gonna take care of it, he said, okay, then I'm gonna answer your question. Well, guess what? There's a worst case
I
in,
think the basic question is, if you live at Park Point and you hit 911, where will that call go?
Well, I think that's one of the many questions.
Well,
Right.
Well,
That's a
the
question.
bigger
Right.
question is, who has jurisdiction
That's right.
exactly.
over that property?
That's
And
right.
it seems to me that it's gonna be the town is gonna have jurisdiction.
No, we don't know yet for
Becau-
sure.
Well, it's property that's owned by the foundation that is leased on a long-term basis to a separate entity. And that separate entity is doing all the improvements and are basically renting these places out to students and faculty members. So it's really not an operation of the college, it's a private operation.
Well, that
So-
has to be concretized because right now the college is treating it like it is an operation of the college. And I think the project's being put forward as a potential.
Doesn't fit.
Well, I know, so, and this is one of the things George Lithgow brought up was, I think in one of the most recent emails, I think that I
Yeah.
sent you guys, was this question of, it's very curious, right? Based on, you know, the new IDA standards and all this type of stuff. So these are questions right now that are in the process of being vetted out, because how can we make a legitimate decision on our, the impact to the town when we don't really understand how this is defined legally?
And I think what's very tough, and I think, you know, and Kevin, here's where you're gonna come in key, is you bring up in a very, a couple exacting points. One is, everything seems to, and if you look at George Lithgow's comments, is that what we have here is something is clearly private property on land leased to a non-for-profit entity which is not associated with the university. It's the foundation. The foundation is not
No,
directly.
the foundation
I
is part of the
apologize.
college.
The
The foundation owns the land and they're part of the college.
I apologize, the foundation
Is
is
a not-for-profit.
not-for-profit based out of the university, which is leasing land to a for-profit corporation. So it's no difference than University Gardens.
It's no
It's just
different.
No different. The other question is one of the and you asked about the points again, and kind of come back to that, in their environmental impact statement, and if you look at the financial impact statement, you know, they're saying there's going to be a $6 million impact to the community through rentals. I don't see how $6 million going to a company based out of Rochester, New York, through rental revenues is going to benefit our community. They're putting in it's going to generate 7 jobs. I don't really know if it's
Well,
gonna generate,
This goes back to the central problem with IDAs, is that their mission is to create jobs, but not in the community that is losing the tax revenue.
Well, that's
Bec-
the thing, Kitty. I mean, it's a balance. It's a balance of things. Certainly you want to encourage people to come in and invest their money to build projects that will hire people and produce good paying jobs. And you balance that against, well, what's the cost to the community? Underlying, and I agree with you 100%, is the absolute cost of the operation that can't be absorbed by everybody outside of that operation. They have to absorb at least the basic costs. I look at it as basic costs, and then there are add-on costs, which are how many fire calls are they gonna have? How many ambulance calls are they gonna have? How many police calls are they gonna have? And these are all added on, and I think we have to look at that with anybody that comes into our community from now on. They have to pay at least the bare minimum, not this freebie stuff anymore.
Well, actually, what's being asked, because one of the comments I pointed out to them too, just in terms of the rescue squad numbers, that at one of the, I guess it probably was the town gal meeting, the most recent town gal meeting, the rescue squad talked about the increase of alcohol usage on the campus and how kids are coming to campuses and drinking a lot more because they're starting to drink much younger and whatever, and they're coming to, with a whole different, whatever. And so the number of calls from this rescue squad to the campus has increased greatly in the past couple of months. And so, like I commented to them, the numbers that you have in here might not reflect reality, and they have to be up based on at least what I'm being told about, like the calls to the campus. And, so one of the things George Lithgow and I talked about was, as we go back, and they were told they're gonna have to go back and do worst-case scenario, that we weren't really, in essence, accepting these numbers, and that we wanted them to do worst-case scenario. And so, they are going to work on that, and I think part of it, they were waiting for the conversation tonight.
Okay.
Um,
How about the pro
but-
forma? Has anybody
but-
looked at the pro forma, what their net profit's gonna be?
well, that's what they put in there. I mean, that is another key thing, which I'm bothered by too, Kevin, is it's why I would like the planning board, and I think we should, I would like to have the planning board, if anything we leave tonight, is that they do not
Close public
close
hearing.
the public hearing until we get a completed DEIS, because the pro forma is required to apply for at least the first part of a pilot, if you go on and look at the pilot requirements. So we don't know what their profit is.
We
What
should
they
see
do
that
respond
now.
is $6 million. So they're gonna take in just to give you a round number. So let's just say $6 million is what they're going to take in a year in revenues.
How many units, Jeff?
700
Seven-
students,
well,
724
I
beds,
dispute
it's,
their-
it's
300 and, say 300 and,
They,
No, no,
300
said-
units.
Per bed, right?
330 units, say.
But they're
Well,
charging
they
per
have-
bed.
they
aren't
have
they?
Yes,
Exactly.
they're charging per bed's gonna be market rate somewhere between $600 and $750
They say
per
it's,
bed.
So 650 times how many beds?
It's
they
250,
say
no, no.
258
258
units.
units.
I apologize,
732.
758 units, 732 beds.
So, but the people are paying by the bed.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so they
Times
already
The
said,
732.
minimum rent, as I understand it, is the least rent will be $700.
So that's $475,000 a month in
Right.
gross rentals.
right, so they already said they're gonna make a little over $6 million a year in rental revenue.
6 million in gross rents.
That's what they said. They've already stated that they're gonna make about 6 million. So I understand what you're saying, and Gene, I understand you're right, it's a lot of money. I think, Kevin, that I find it hard to believe a corporation has spent 2 years in this community and doesn't have the majority of the pilot work done already. I mean, would that,
That has to be done.
okay.
Well,
I'm just gonna ask you as someone who deals in real estate.
I'm sure they've had, anybody
well-
that's gonna get financing for their project is gonna know what the financing's gonna cost and what their expenses are gonna be. They have to.
Well, let me just step back
So
for
the
a
majority of
second.
the pilot is probably.
Let
I
me
would
step
think
back
so.
though, because of the pilot, because I think in their mindset, short of the payment in lieu of taxes for the expenses, you know, the fire rescue and whatever, which I understand they were prepared and are prepared to do, which I didn't even realize they were going to, but I've since learned they are gonna do. And, you know, we're basically sort of saying, okay, if you're going to make the payment in lieu of taxes for the fire rescue and police, then let's come up with real numbers, and let's come up with real numbers that also grow with the increases to the community, so
But
it's not
those-
static,
Right,
okay?
those are just the add-ons.
No, I know that, so let me just
So
finish,
could we all
okay?
just look at page 22?
But Kitty, I just wanna
Because
finish,
this is their schedule of
okay,
payments.
but I just wanted, outside and beyond that, the water and the sewer system, okay, where they're looking, and that's where they've been focusing all their time, in terms of where they really see the benefit to the community that their project is giving to the town, is the fact that they're working on a sewer system and a water system that they are building and planning on potentially sizing in a way for the town to eventually either A, take over, or be a partner with them, so we can have our own water and sewer to kickstart South Park Corners Road without having to depend on the village for water and sewer. And so they chose not to buy the water from the village. They believe they have enough water to, for their own project. Dave Clauser the other day asked them if they could pump the wells to see the maximum capacity, you know, to do certain things that would make us feel comfortable that there is X amount of water, you know, that once they serve their project, that they can pump enough water for us to have value out of it. So then we could choose how we want to move forward with the water system. And with the sewer system, it's already being designed, so we can have these extra packaging plants, so we can put on extra capacity. And so they've been really looking at the water and sewer as really the benefit to the town from their project, as really the big enchilada for the pilot, as opposed to just, you know, the whatever.
So
So
we
that's
have
what
to
they've been really
balance-
focusing on.
We have
That's
to
what they, yeah,
balance the return
right,
to the town on that
Right.
versus what we're giving up. So
right.
we have to have all these numbers.
Which is why it's
Yeah,
important for
the-
George
the-
to be here.
The problem, I mean, we had always hoped that South Park Corners, and this 50
Mhm.
acres is variable density in order to create
Mhm.
more housing, but also more commercial. And what we're seeing is every time there's an IDA project, it looks for a prime piece of commercial land and turns it into housing. So we
Mhm.
are losing the opportunity to build business in our
Except-
community, and there's no guarantee that if this new water and sewer project goes in, there won't be another application for a housing project
Well,
right
no,
next to it.
let me just be really clear. They originally had wanted to use the 50,000 gallons that are, promised by the village to the town for South Park Corners Road. for water, you know, for sewer and stuff. And I said, hopefully on behalf of the whole board, and you all feel the way I do, I basically said to them, I said, why would the town want to, we only have 50,000 gallons. You need 50,000 gallons. Why would we take 50,000 gallons of our allotment for South Park Corners, which is to build commercial industry, and give it to you, you know, for a residential
But
project?
just, you sort of stepped on my point, because I totally agree with what you're saying.
Which is
but
why they're building, where they're
What
not,
we're seeing is that we have very little land left in our community that could become commercial.
But-
Commercial is always a
I know.
better bang for our buck.
I know that, so let me finish this then. So I said to them, I don't see this board giving you our $50,000 allotment for you to build your project that then takes our ability away to create, to put infrastructure on South Park Corners Road, which is our, you know, our industrial corridor. How is that beneficial to us? You're residential, you're tax exempt, and we're gonna give you our water usage, which is why they're building their sewer plant now and not depending on our 50,000 gallons. So what I'm saying
Okay, well,
is,
that is an achievement, and I thank you for that. But it still leaves us with the problem that, you know, yet another piece of potentially commercial property is now going to residential. And once this capacity is there, you know, we've seen with Crossroads,
Oh,
we've seen with Woodland Pond, we've seen, at Victorian Square, land that looks perfect for commercial development. It's just more profitable to put in housing.
yeah, but
But it's not, it's always at a loss to the municipality.
well, I mean, what I'm gonna say is from the perspective of, let's just, no, let's, I mean, I guess you gotta first start with the belief of whether or not you believe this project has any value at all in of itself, okay? And I do see a value to the college, I think,
Well-
I see a value to the community, you know, to the village, but regardless, right now, the project's on the table, and that's what we're talking about.
Okay, I would like to approach this in a sort of more methodical way. I did send you 7 pages of comments on the entire project. And my concerns about it are, if I can just start from the top, we
But
have,
You know, just 'cause I'm doing quick numbers, and this is gonna go down Kevin's alley too. So there are 273 units. Let's average them out at 2-bedroom units, right? 2-bedroom units are going for about 180,000, right? Is that about right in town?
okay,
Sound about right, doesn't about 180,000? So if you take 180,000, that's 180, right? Per thousand. So we go 180, and our tax rate, I'm just gonna use just the town's tax rate, 763. So 180 times 7.63. That values each one at a tax value of $1,373, $1,373. They had a mention there of about $130,000 a year of a pilot. But I know it's very confusing. But I think it was about 130,000. So 130,000. So if you take 130,000, what are you looking at? Like $450 for a 2-bedroom unit, and everyone else in town is paying $1,300. So they're getting a $900 discount.
How many
What
units
is this-
total? How many units?
Let's 273. So 273, and our tax rate, Kevin, is going to be town rates 7.633, $7.63 per thousand.
I figured $1.5 million a year in taxes.
And they're willing to give us about if you read through it, let's just say they give us $150,000.
That's $1.5 million for
So we're gonna take,
school
so-
and land.
so they get to pay no, I'm just giving you just town taxes, Kevin, not even school.
Right.
So I'm just giving you town. So on town taxes alone, on something that should be valued at $1,400, we're gonna take $700, I mean, $400, $500. That's an awful good deal, because I think Mr. Seafried would love to have that deal for the units he just developed, literally
Okay,
a
what-
1/10 of a mile up the road.
See, I think what we're doing, I kind of agree. I think this project is an important project for the
Absolutely.
college.
Absolutely.
I think it really enhances the value of the college. But I think we have to approach it like business people and make sure that the town derives the benefit that we need to get in order for us to continue to move forward, and we're not subsidizing it.
And I said, and I just want you to know that.
And I'm
I
sorry,
said-
and I think it's valuable for our community too. I
Yeah.
agree. I think
Right.
it's also a valuable thing for our
Yeah.
community because it makes the college, which is an integral part of our community.
And this college is an exceptional institution,
And I
and it's
think
becoming more and more
Yeah, it is.
recognized in the SUNY system. It's really.
Oh, it's like.
this
it's
and Cobblestone
it
are
is-
the two hardest ones to
it's-
get
it's-
into, or
So,
Geneseo.
so, I will just,
Geneseo, I apologize,
I will
Geneseo.
say that I said exactly that statement to the lawyer and to the Wilmerite people 2 days ago, when I said to them on the phone, and I said, look, I said, understand, I'm not against your project, okay? So don't take what I'm saying wrong, you know, and I said, so understand, I'm not trying to be the enemy, okay? But just listen to what I have to say, and I said, because I kept talking about how great the project was and how great the project was, and I said, look, I said, the project is great for the college. The project has great value to the college. Nobody will debate that. I said, but you have yet to show me the value to the town.
All they have to do is
Okay,
share.
I
with
said,
the
I said, you
Just
have yet
share
to
with
show
us.
the value to the town. I said, and I said, so from the town's perspective, it's 725 more students or whatever coming downtown at night to the bars that we have to protect with police or whatever. It's X amount of whatever, but I said, help me, help the town board to understand your value of the project. Give me the selling points to help you sell this to the town board, because right now, I can't go back to the board and say there's any value right now, other than it's very great to the college, which is great for us.
Well,
So they're gonna be
Keep
working
going
on
the
that.
quote that way. It's help me, help you, show me
Right. It's-
the money. Because, when you give,
So-
and to Kevin's point is, we've never looked at these in the past, and if you look at this, telling me that you're gonna do 20 new, and I said, they said in this report, their experts, Kevin, told us they're gonna generate 20 new calls per year. I remember that from the report. 20 new police calls per year. That's outrageous.
Yeah.
You're gonna do 20 new police
But
calls
that's
per
because of the
week.
assumption that
Right,
as
that's
soon
right,
as-
I mean,
that's
we
right,
all
that's
know
right,
that. We're
that's
not-
right, based on certain assumptions. So anyway,
Which
just-
is-
so you
which
know
is
what?
not in reality.
We have,
So anyway,
I don't want to, a lot of this discussion is based on the fact that if we're looking for value to the town, there's a presumption that there's gonna be a pilot. If this were just a normal project that was going on the normal tax rolls, then
Right.
we would have some other issues to
Uh-huh.
talk about. And I think it is important for us to talk about those, because those are not addressed in the EIS, and I think if I could just take 5 minutes
go
to
ahead.
just go through the
Mhm.
whole list of my concerns. The town has an affordable housing shortage, we know that. This project does nothing to alleviate that shortage, because it is aimed entirely at commuting students.
But-
That's in the EIS,
but
so
I,
that's what it says.
okay, but I will only step back and say I don't think that it's the responsibility of that project to solve that problem, because this is a specific project worked with the university.
But it exacerbates the problem.
Right.
It
But it's a
Can I-
university-oriented project,
All right,
okay?
well, this is
Mhm.
something the town has to come to
Mhm.
consensus on.
And you're
My
right, too, because the
feeling-
IDA made a new category. You're absolutely right, because the
Yeah,
IDA
they
this
don't
summer
promote-
made a
yeah.
new category
Mhm.
for dormitory housing, which is
Right, so
brand new.
every year
Mhm.
or two, more than 700 new people will move into New Paltz, into these units, and they cannot stay after they are no longer enrolled students. What if they want to stay? This is going to place a huge burden on our already dire affordable housing situation. We are inviting 750, when you count the children who will come, new residents into our community every year or two. Just 10% of them want to stay. We don't have housing for all of the people we already know whose children grew up here and want to live here. So I have a serious concern that this project is going to exacerbate a crisis that we already have in affordable housing. Because it's clear in the lease from the other Park Point projects that unless you are an actively enrolled student, you may not rent one of the units there. They maintain in the EIS that 30 units will be reserved for faculty and staff. These are probably 2-bedroom units. The public has already spoken that they don't understand how this can be an exclusive rental and only students can be allowed to apply. And that's something that Wilmright has said they will come back and answer. However, the two-bedroom units, I think they would really have a problem with the Fair Housing Act if they said that that couple who are faculty may not have a child in those two-bedroom units. I think that would be discriminatory, and I think that in those 30 units, we can expect to see between 2.5 and 3
I'm gonna just have to ask you, Kitty, to go through this pretty quickly, only just because looking at the time and knowing that Bill Walls is waiting for us to call him.
Well, what I want is for us to come to a consensus on what we want to send to the
Oh.
planning board. So I disagree that this will not have an impact on our school district. Because if anything, I think those 30 faculty houses will have between 15 to 30 children. And those children are going to enroll in our schools. And when those faculty no longer are active students, or for some other reason, maybe they're no longer faculty, maybe they don't get tenure, maybe they want to live here, we're gonna have an affordable housing and a new
Well,
school-age population.
let me stop for a second, because I could debate with you on this or not, whether I think it's relevant to this project or not, but we don't have time to get into that debate. So let me ask a question. We know,
The
let me
only
just,
thing that's relevant to this project is their number of saying that this will be the final number of residents.
no, I'm getting to a bigger, I think, Mike, we can do a couple of different things. First of all, we can ask right away as a board that we would like them to extend the public comment, okay? So that in itself could be one outcome that you're looking for tonight, is our request for them to extend the public comment. Secondly, Michael said that, I forget, what did he say the other day about how long we have to put something in writing to give to him?
When you close public
Just-
comment,
He
it's-
wanted it early December.
We had until December 10th.
It's usually, what
Okay.
is it, 30 days after closing public
Okay,
comment?
I just want to, 30
Kevin might know
I
that
think
better.
so.
What?
I believe it's 30 days
Okay.
after closing public comment.
So-
Allowed to give
But
written
then
comment.
that would be the end of December, right?
Right,
So
but
right
I
now-
don't, but I would like, the reason I'd like to keep the public comment open though, beyond December, is I would like to request a developer, and we can't demand it of them, I don't believe, I'd ask Kevin again, are you allowed to ask a developer?
You can ask whatever you want.
Well,
Sure.
no,
Because in the-
Jeff, I think, I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
never got
no.
a chance to say this. The planning board, at least when I was, for a short time at one of their meetings, as I was coming out and I sat for a while, the planning board, does want to bring in an independent consultant.
Yes.
They,
I've been
they
talking
want to
about
bring in
that.
an independent consultant in. What Mike Calamano wants, though, is, for the planning board to give direction to the independent consultant about what they want them to study versus them going off and just studying what they want to do. So he wanted to come up with concrete questions, and one of the things that came out of the meeting after the planning board with Calamano, myself, Dave Klaus, and George Lithgow, was asking for an independent consultant on the financial portion of this that would be put into the, the consultant that the planning board would bring on. So that is going to be asked for, and I think that's going to,
NYPER today.
Yeah.
And I would like to see if either NYPER or the Fiscal Policy Institute
I would love
could
to.
provide
Mhm.
us, the town board, just for the
Mhm.
economic. I think we need our own consultant for the economic part of this.
So let me, just so I can just understand, just so we could sort of like move forward a little bit. If we have our board meeting on the 13th, and if we can get George and Marge to come here, that'll give us a better sense, understanding of a lot of things. We're saying that if they we're gonna ask them, this board wants me to ask them to keep the public comment open until a date or until a specific action.
I would like them to get in their
We
pilot
don't know,
application.
because
yeah.
we have to interview and hire our own independent consultant
I know, I'm just trying to ask right now,
until the results of our independent economic analysis are in.
I mean, I think one thing that I think I'm finding just a little unique is, this is probably one of the largest, well, actually, since I've been going to planning board meetings the last 6 years, this is the largest DEIS I've ever read through. And I will fully admit, it is 3 very large binders, and it is probably about 6 giant, and that's why I sent out that link.
Well,
to
I
the
couldn't
committee.
believe that I think the wetlands thing, well,
Yeah.
one portion of the traffic study was 240 pages.
Right, which, if you read through that, it reads very similar to a lot of the other ones, so the traffic study does look pretty decent.
But I'm just saying 240 pages, when I looked to print it and I saw 240
Yeah, don't print
pages,
it.
I did.
I wish traffic looked as decent as that did, but,
Okay.
I think though, they need to, and Kevin, when the planning board accepts, when any planning board accepts the DEIS, it becomes then the EIS. And that is then their document, right? It's no
Right.
longer the document of the person presenting it. It is now the town of New Paltz Planning Board's document.
Yeah.
So I just wanna make sure they're all absolutely comfortable with putting their, I mean, in theory, it's a legal right, not in theory, it's a legal document that has their initials in each upper right-hand corner.
So we have to do the due diligence so
Okay,
that we know
okay,
that our
so,
documents are
so,
documents.
so, God, I'm
Right.
sorry,
And
Jim.
then
If
we
you leave the
sign- and-
public hearing open,
Right.
advise us the time to give them written comments.
Right.
And-
That's
and-
really
and
what
'cause
we wanna do.
We
Right.
would like the people
What
to
we
comment on
wanna
the pilot.
accomplish
I'd
tonight.
like people to be, I'd
So-
like this
so,
community to
I
comment
know,
on.
so
what
what
the
we're,
pilot
so what
is.
we're gonna do is we're gonna try to schedule a meeting for the 13th.
Yeah.
And then also, you're asking me to get a letter to, the planning board that we're asking them to keep the public comment open until the town board,
And the
get-
planning board.
well, that, I'm
We're
gonna say
start
that,
with saying the town
that the town
Town
board
board.
is going to
town board
hire,
is gonna hire
is
a-
going
our
to-
independent financial
Till the town
consultant
board's had an opportunity to review the report of,
and submit
Right.
it as
Because
part
Mike
of this
Calamano wants to do it.
process.
wants to do what?
Hi, Jeff
Well, they
just
want
said that they wanna hire an independent consultant, so after they do that, we'll review that material. But
we
in the
wanna hire
meantime,
our
leave the
own.
public hearing open
Yeah,
so
no,
that.
but Kitty
That's what
wants the
you-
town
We
board
can
to
hire
hire
our
their own
own.
independent
I mean,
consultant.
They have a lot of environmental issues and traffic questions.
Oh, so that's what
Right.
Mike's working on.
And I think we should
And you
have
wanna
our
look
own
at
just to do
something
the
different.
economic.
Well,
Okay.
maybe the whole economic.
So is it, do you think it's legal, financial, or engineering? I mean, which kind of a consultant are you?
Well,
financial.
Fiscal-
we need somebody who
fiscal
can
consultant.
review the economic and fiscal impact study,
Okay.
and it's everything contained in there.
So, okay, so just, right now, we're going to say that the town board is going to hire their own independent consultant to review,
The fiscal impact.
to review the fiscal fiscal and economic impacts of the DEIS, right?
Partial.
And actually, this would not, I mean, the town board, we're going to hire them, but this would be coming out
Yeah,
of
escrow.
developers' escrow accounts.
Exactly, exactly. But so we're gonna say that the town board is going to, interview and hire somebody to do a fiscal, review, blah, blah, blah. And that we are requesting that they keep the public comment open until the town board has a chance to acquire the
Review the
results
findings.
and review the findings. Okay, so
Okay.
that's right now the plan. Then simultaneously, we'll have the meeting on the 13th. In the interim, we will make sure that everybody got Kitty's 7-page, issues that she's concerned about. Maybe we can talk about those at the net, on the 13th, because we'll schedule that meeting.
I would like to do that.
You know-
And I think it's important that the town send a letter with our
Uh-huh.
comments so far.
Okay, but I mean, what I'd like to do is, step one is tell them we want the public comment open, and that we're gonna try to hire somebody. We are going to hire somebody. Then we can all review the stuff, and then if with the 13th, we think that's the appropriate time to, go over that stuff, then we can come to consensus on how we feel about, A, your comments, and B, what we want to then put in writing. We
Okay.
just don't have time tonight to do that step by step by step,
I
okay?
just have to
So-
make one more point.
Sure.
And SUNY Rochester at Park Point, which is a much larger city than
Mhm.
ours, they only put in 226 beds. This is a massive project
Mhm.
for the size of our town.
I will say, though, that having spent time in Rochester recently a lot,
Mhm.
and meeting with some people, I have heard wonderful, wonderful things about the project in Rochester.
All
Through
I'm
Park,
saying
through
is
Wilmite.
it's a much bigger
Yeah,
city,
yeah,
right?
yes.
They only had 226 beds.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I have heard good things about Wilmite and this project in Rochester when I've been up there, that's all.
And absolutely, and I don't think
You know-
anyone has any question though about that. I mean, I just temper that with, and
think-
I have seen the one up in Syracuse, it's in a different type of neighborhood. Please do go on and look at the Google reviews though, and some of the reviews online of their project, and they're not the most favorable reviews. They are running about 2 out of 5 stars, which does not give you, is a question someone else had raised about what are these units gonna be worth in 40 years? And a lot of the questions were revolving around questions that, Gene, to your point, which is what are they focusing on? They are, our planning board is focusing on a lot of the issues of what are you building? Energy Star, where's it gonna be certified, is it going to be LEED certified, is it gonna be platinum, gold, silver, what level you're going for, and a lot of the complaints seem to be around, the life of what goes on in these areas, and it tends to be more of a university gardens type life, which is kind of a party atmosphere, and also the quality of a lot of the products in it seem to be the complaints. So if you go through and read the ratings, they're not impressive. I mean, 2 out of 5 stars is not would any of us go to a hotel that was rated 2 out of 5 stars?
No, but it's also not New Paltz.
No, but it's 2 universities that are very respectable universities.
Right.
You're talking about Rochester Institute of Technology, you're talking about Syracuse University, which your students are paying a heck of a lot more to go to those universities than a SUNY. So you're talking about a student that has the ability to pay for a lot better. They are certainly, I'm not saying their towns are any better, that they're universities,
I'm
but
just
it's
saying
certainly universities that.
Our environment, it's okay that that's the type of university. Our environment circling the SUNY campus is part of the attraction, not just the quality of the education.
Oh, absolutely.
Our environment.
Absolutely.
So,
I absolutely agree.
I feel that, to a certain degree, Wilmerite is aware that this is New Paltz, and we are environmentally conscious. I think that they will get the point from tonight's discussion that we are also financially savvy, and that we're not ready to move forward on this. So I think they'll get a good understanding from tonight's discussion.
Michael Moriello is very aware, and he keeps saying that, he understands that the most important thing right now at the point that they're at is the fiscal impact on the community.
Mhm.
He understands that, he gets it, and he's very clear with Wilmerite that that's where they're at right
Right.
now, is the fiscal implications, and that's the hurdle right now. So, I mean, I
Well,
don't,
that's a hurdle with us, but I mean, I'm very disappointed that in a university setting, there is no environmental green initiative at all. I mean,
You mean on
it's
this
a
project?
bronze, yeah.
oh, no, but one of the things that, and I actually had wanted to invite him to come to the meeting, one of the guys working on it, he actually is like on the board of the Green Building Association.
They're
Ki-
going
ki-
for bronze, not silver.
No, but let me just say something, and I don't wanna get into
It's
this.
separate from LEED, it's called Green Building.
Yeah, I was going to say
Yeah.
exactly. The-
Two separate
One of the things that he
organizations.
explained, and I said to Dave Klauser, and Dave thought it was a great idea, I said, well, I would love to have this guy come to one of our meetings to explain to us, because what I learned in one of these meetings is there's this tendency that everybody talks about leads, and the architects all grabbed onto it, and there's a lot of money to be made by architects doing LEED standard type stuff. But there's a whole Green Building Association, and there's another whole standard of environmental buildings that's not LEED, that's through this green building, that's actually better and whatever, but nobody really knows about it. It's sort of
Okay.
insider game
Right.
and stuff. So I sort of learned about that in the meeting. So I said to Dave, it would be great to have him come and meet with us and explain this to the
Right.
board, so we
Well,
could.
that's the stuff
so-
that,
so
I'm
that's-
hopeful will come out
yeah.
in our public hearings.
Exactly. So, but I don't need to come in.
I
I
was
want to
very
have the
happy
guy.
to hear them
I want to
talk
have the guy
about-
come here
Well,
and meet with
I
us, and then, and talk to
that's
us at a
the
town
stuff
board meeting.
That we need, I mean,
Yeah.
I was very happy Monday night to hear them talk about using gray water for irrigation.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
huge step forward. We've never been able to
Yeah.
get anyone else to do that.
So like when this guy was talking about it in the meeting and saying people misunderstand, that's why I said to Dave, well, then he should come and let him come to the
Right.
town board where we control the meeting. He can talk all about this environmental standard and educate all of us, and
Good.
so, okay, so maybe we can even invite him to that meeting if we have time.
So we haven't had, just so
Okay.
you know, the public hearing has not been open for, it didn't open, I believe, I was trying to find it in my calendar, I might have it on my other one at home, but it's not as though public hearing has been open a long time, it's been open 60 days barely,
Mhm.
so it's not like we're asking to keep it open
No.
for another 6 months, it's barely
Mhm.
been open 2 months,
Uh-huh.
so.
So
Okay,
are there
so-
public hearings on the EIS, or
Kevin, do you know?
is there another round?
Do you know the
of public
steps of
hearings?
that?
I'm not sure of that.
I don't have it, we need the secret cookbook, if I had
Yeah,
that, if I had my
yeah.
secret cookbook
Okay.
with me, I could give you that
Right.
answer instantly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe there is anything public once you close, let's ask Laura, unfair question. Do you remember when you do EIS, you're done with public hearings, all
Well,
right?
this
Unless
is
you
not to
reopen it.
The scoping,
But they've
Here's-
done
here's
the
the scoping.
scoping.
They've done the
Here's the
scoping,
Now
scoping.
they
they're
did
doing
that.
DEIS.
So now we're in the DEIS, so
But when
the
that's-
public hearing is still open on the DEIS, but once you close that, unless you reopen it. Now, you're allowed to take a piece out, George had told me that you're allowed to take a piece out of the DEIS. So you can take the fiscal impact out
Mhm.
That'll be your supplemental.
and leave that incomplete. And then you would close the DEIS on everything but the fiscal.
Which we
But-
can ask them to do. I mean, we could
Since
just
the
say,
DEIS
you
is
can do
gonna
that, right, yeah.
require more information.
I mean, we
When you
can't,
close that, and then you get in all this new data, don't you have to have more public discussion on the new data?
I mean, I do think that we can,
We should ask George.
yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna say that we're gonna have George come, but I mean, we can
Lawyers,
also,
lawyers
I
do
can,
the-
I
just
can
that.
also, I mean, if it's okay with you, I
agree
mean,
with you.
let me ask you a question relative to the comment, like about me writing that we want them to ask, to keep the public comment open. Is it okay if I ask George tomorrow, then I can let you guys all know before I write the letter, but say to George, is it better for us to say, keep the public comment open till we get the reviews of our, economic impact, review, or do I ask him, or say, or would it be better to say that we want to segment this part out, let the planning board move forward with the way they wanna do it, and we'll handle this portion? No, no,
No, I
okay,
think-
I say do
Plan
it
A.
simultaneously,
Okay.
Yes,
rather
do it,
than
keep it-
allowing
keep-
them
okay,
So
to
it's a
adopt a portion of it, in which case, 5 years from now, if we're all gone, someone
will
someone misinterprets
will be
the
gone.
minutes,
Right.
and there's no historical memory here
Uh-huh.
between us and the planning board, and forget about it.
And,
Yeah,
and
so
then
I
it's,
would like
and then
it
it
separate.
loses
Kevin
its
Jefferson will
coordinate,
do
then
that.
it loses,
Absolutely.
then it loses its
Yeah.
coordinated review, which is what we're trying to do
okay,
here.
okay.
Right,
And it's also not just so the town board can review, it's also,
Uh-huh.
we could put in a letter that it's also so the public,
Uh-huh,
once, because this is all gonna be public documents, so the public can also review the pilot, and the public has the ability to now comment on the pilot.
okay, so, that's how we're gonna move forward.
And please, look at Kitty's comments and speak
Yeah.
with Kitty on
The
her,
most
because it is in
interesting
an
thing,
email.
the most
Yeah.
interesting thing you'll find is that, I don't know if it's the Rochester or the Syracuse, one of them has a bar on its own property.
That's the retail you were talking about.
that's the
Yeah.
retail.
I won't
mean,
just, I won't just.
think about asking our local tavern owners to open an establishment where the college population does not have to walk into our town.
No, but I will point something really out, really interesting from my last tour of duty. My last tour of duty, when Roger Bowen was here, Roger Bowen actually wanted to, because of the problems with the downtown
Yeah.
and whatever, Roger Bowen wanted to actually open a alcoholic establishment on the campus
Mhm.
back then, and the students did not want it. The students lobbied against it and asked for them not to allow a place for the kids to drink on the campus, to be on the campus, and that's why it never happened.
Now, there
So
was
the-
a bar
So
though.
the students
yeah.
themselves chose not to
Okay.
want to have alcohol on the
Well,
campus.
Quiet.
They wanted to come downtown and
This is a
drink.
private developer.
I'm
and,
just
you know,
That's
pointing.
just
But,
wild.
but just to review history for fun, there actually was a bar in the SUB at one point on
Really?
campus, when you went in, what is now the glass pyramid, and.
Yeah, but that
Okay,
was
it's getting here.
probably when
Yeah, you're
drinking
right,
was
there was a
18.
bar
But it's fine
for
when
a
drinking
while.
was 18, right?
Yes,
Right,
drinking was
right.
18 then.
Right,
Right.
now
Okay,
there's no more bars.
Okay,
No,
so if
no.
that's okay, I'm gonna bring this to a closure, because
Yeah.
we wanna do Laura pretty quickly, and I really,
Okay.
I told George, I told Bill Walls we'd call him by 7:45, and it's
Okay.
now quarter
He
after
knows-
8,
he knows
so.
better
He
than
knows
I.
better.
Okay.
He, yeah.
So-
Did you wanna do the
Well, we're gonna have, no, we're gonna be on the phone with him for, I mean, if you wanna wait,
No,
that's
I
okay.
don't think she should be.
Well, I don't know how
think
long
we
it's
do,
gonna
Laura.
take, how long is this gonna take for us to figure this out?
Shouldn't be too bad.
Why don't you come up,
Come
start
up
talking,
and
I'll
say
call
what-
George,
we'll do some-
and George, I'll call Bill and tell him it'll just be another 10 minutes.
Okay, and I am not at all convinced that the contract for the lieutenant, because there's nobody in that position, should be held in executive session. Reading
Oh.
the open meetings law, it says that, they can be held in executive session if it would, I gotta find it, affect collective bargaining. And this is not a collective bargaining.
Well, just, again, we're going to go and talk about the Teamsters, the PBA,
Oh, those I agree should
and,
be.
and we're gonna talk about the, UPEI or whatever that,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
whatever. we do wanna talk about Lucchese's contract. Kitty
I,
doesn't believe that,
Well, first of all, sorry, Susan, but it does not have a name associated
Yeah, it's
with
the
it.
lieutenant's contract.
I'm sorry, that's
second
the
of
lieutenant's
all-
contract, I'm sorry.
I don't mean to disagree, however, I do feel that, contract negotiations may have an impact all around.
Well,
Can we come back to this and,
Oh,
Yes.
take care of
Can we-
all
Okay,
do
let me
that?
go, you guys talk for a second while I go for Bill.
just reading this, and just the open meetings law.
Okay,
I
do you
don't know
know-
how comprehensive this will be.
Okay, do you know where your revenue is? Do you have a budget report?
I have what I printed
Okay, we have
up
to wait for
from-
Jeff then. He always has one in his bag.
Does he? Okay.
Always.
Yeah, I mean, I have what I printed off of Edmunds, which is, I can understand what it is, I don't know, and the issue is
these are your
because the
expenses.
personnel's so overdrawn now, it's drawing off the other accounts, so I can't even submit purchase orders because it shows everything's overdrawn.
Yeah, so put them in. Because we know what happened to you,
Right.
unless you guys disagree. But we do know what happened to you.
have you budgeted through the end of the year and figured out what you need?
I have, if we stop spending just getting the truck, what I have, okay, to the big one, sale of surplus equipment, which was unanticipated revenue under sales surplus. I would like to move that
Not a budget.
into,
What do you need?
You have your
equipment line.
financial
What's the
reports?
the total's 13,600. That's with two
Revenues and
unanticipated
expenses,
revenues.
The quarterly report?
And then if separately, if you wanna do something with personnel, I
So
don't know.
Is this
the-
55,000? And what does that mean?
That
You've spent
55,000.
55,000?
No, so far we spent 10. This
Okay.
is, the disposal line, and I'm not sure if we're going to be
Okay,
paying
I really
for
need the
disposal
thing with the
fees yet.
budget
I
on
don't
it.
know. I'm sorry, I don't get
This,
anything.
I can give you, there you go.
Thank
That's, revenue and then,
Okay.
oh wait, that's revenue, you don't want revenue.
I do want revenue,
Do you want
as a
revenue?
matter of fact. I want a piece of it.
There's revenue, and I believe I have expenses right after that. The other file's just
This
out. I
is
might-
2013, or is this also 12?
That's,
This is his,
12.
report as of August 31st.
right, so I took the other one.
Okay,
and
what
I'm
was the
sorry.
revenue line you were talking about? Where do you think your money is?
There's two of them. One is revenue received from a USDA grant,
Oh, do you,
which I don't think was anticipated to be received this year. We did find that.
okay, how
It
much
did
was
come
it?
in January. It was 9,600. I don't think you're gonna find it on there. We found it because I got in touch with the USDA and they told me what account they deposited it in.
Okay, but it should have been moved.
It should be somewhere, it should be booked somewhere.
It should have been moved into the general fund. What do you know about this?
She
Where
knows.
I
was
know
it?
that we received it January 13th.
Okay, and it was deposited
It
somewhere.
was deposited, yes,
And they told you
And
the
it
account
was-
number?
yes.
Okay.
What account?
Yeah, all I remember is the 1100. I didn't bring it with me. I think I sent you the email.
You just send that to all of us? Lauren?
1100?
Yeah,
No,
Well, is that a checking account?
it's
or
yeah.
It's an actual.
oh,
bank
1100,
Oh.
right, that
It's
is
an
it.
actual bank account, yeah.
Yeah, no.
So, and then the other one is the sale of surplus equipment, which was 4,000. That was, first week of September. I think it was September 5th and September 6th.
Oh, it
So
won't
that's
be
through
on here.
August.
Right.
Are you meeting again? In the
In
next week?
December.
Are you meeting next week?
We're meeting actually
No,
second week
sec-
of December.
December 13th, I think we're gonna meet.
Would it be easier to give me exactly what you need and then I can come back with the exact
So what
accounts?
you're asking us
I can tell you exactly
is
when
to
I need.
move the 9,600
Mm-hmm,
and the surplus funds
exactly.
into the
That would go
line
into-
items
Alright.
where you're over overspent?
Yes.
Sale, okay, sale of equipment, no. Sale of scrap, I have some revenue.
Yeah, no.
That, sale of scrap comes from,
That's
That, and
correct.
that's budgeted anyway.
That's, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
also
well, you're
Laura
way under
selling
budget,
scrap,
so.
I don't know why, because I put my information into QuickBooks and it doesn't match this. Right now, my sale of scrap is 14,000.
Oh my
What's this
God,
say?
this, we have 19,000 budgeted in
Yeah.
revenue. And this August 31st report says $5,455,
I use QuickBooks, I
which
input it
is
every day.
28% of the
Yeah.
revenue.
Yeah,
And you have 14,000.
I have 14,000.
Okay, that's very good. All right, anyway, okay, so.
And I
the-
can bring that with you next time too. I'll have
Um,
the whole QuickBook updated so you can see that we're getting close to revenues. It's going to be off because we didn't get the building up. And I'm going to be calling the DEC every day until we get that check for
When-
$63,000.
When you get your scrap revenue,
Yeah,
how is it processed? When you get a check, you physically?
we do get a check.
Do you-
What
Yes.
happens to it?
It gets deposited in with the daily receipts.
Who deposits it?
I do.
You do.
Yeah. And I was told that it gets pulled out of the daily receipts and inputted as scrap. And then when I do QuickBooks, which we do manually, it gets put in as sales scrap, as does waste oil and any other marketable material that we have.
Okay, so your sale of equipment, you said was how much?
4,000.
Surplus equipment was more than that, wasn't it?
No,
It's
under the
sales surplus,
surplus equipment,
What
No,
was
Sales
we,
of
we sold
scrap.
trailers. All we
I
sold
thought
was
you said you had
trailers.
two
That was the other
numbers,
thing.
grant money and another
So what you're
Yeah.
saying, the sale of equipment, you have $4,000 that you
Right.
received,
Right,
which is not recorded, and 0 is budgeted.
okay.
So that's good, we would increase that line. Now, the $9,600 is a grant receipt,
Yes.
okay. That was,
So you need to know what
I,
line that went into.
it was originally
general revenue
received
fund.
in January
Mhm.
and discovered, when did you
2
discover?
weeks ago.
Okay. So in November, there should be a transfer of the, you said it was $9,600? Okay. So in November, the November transfer, I want to know, what code in the A fund is it being deposited into?
Into or under?
Into. So that I need to know if it's one of the ones with a budget or no budget.
Okay,
If you have no budget, we will increase whatever that line is.
okay.
Okay, and then expenses?
I got it all in here.
I know you do.
I just gotta get,
He's
unless I
so
took
good.
it out. I usually don't.
Well, these are where you want money to go to? I can't work with that.
Yeah,
Never
no,
mind.
that's okay.
I knew
I'll
there was a
come up with-
reason why I didn't want it. I previewed Edmunds, and I ultimately did not purchase it.
Yeah,
Okay, so,
it's not pretty, but. Is anything going to be done with the disposal line while Susan's negotiating?
disposal,
The reason that there's so much in there,
tell me what you call it, give me digits.
55,000. Under the
Digits.
8160?
8160.
You wanna explain that?
Okay, you have 59,000 budgeted.
Right,
You have
We spent
10,000
10.
spent.
right.
What do you
Are
say?
we holding on that disposal line, Susan?
I'm sorry, what?
Are we holding on the disposal line?
Are you talking, oh, you can't,
Yeah.
that's all the RRA where I haven't paid a bill, and they
Okay.
haven't paid me.
Alrighty,
So it's just
So
gonna
you
stay?
Oh,
can't-
wait, well, I'm just waiting to, hopefully we
Okay.
had the meeting with the lawyer and we're
Yeah.
hoping that.
You did well for Ulster.
Alrighty. So,
I didn't mean to help. Yes, I hear. it's just the benefit of the
recycling
person behind.
equipment,
Yeah, by quite a bit.
Did they make a decision yet?
Should roll my laptop.
All right, so we should leave that alone.
mm-hmm,
Okay, so personnel's the big one, because
Yes.
personnel's so overdrawn.
yes. But, do you have, or will you have excess money in contractual? I have that, you have 25,000 in a budget at,
Mhm.
now, in the end of August, you had,
Not when we're done
Oh.
buying that dump truck.
yeah, but that'll come out of point two, won't it?
It will.
Okay, and point two, you have $67,000 left, or you did.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but there's also some contractor bills coming out of that too.
Okay. So are you
In
saying
other words,
that's,
$1,000, right?
Huh?
Is that for the?
Yeah, and then we're done.
I know,
Okay.
I thought I had finished off, signing off on the last thing, and then I saw there's another $11,000.
okay, well, the
But
thing
that's
is,
still a
out of the
grant, though.
9,600,
That is a grant.
wherever this money is, the
The
9,600,
9,600 should go into the equipment line,
that would,
yeah.
okay. That would cover your truck,
Yes.
okay. The 4,000 could help you on personal services, right? And then we could find you some more money for personal services.
There's also is the 25,000 still in buildings and grounds, the part-time?
That's where I was, that's exactly where I was going. I would say that we will take some out of there. This is my plan. Okay, so,
And I think we're gonna have an extra 5,000 in the 8160 line too, because we've brought down our disposal fees by quite a bit. But I guess since I'm not sure yet, I should.
I need a current expense and revenue
Okay.
showing B and G and recycle. Okay,
Okay.
take that with you.
This- Okay,
And remember, don't lose
Yeah.
that, because I'll forget.
okay.
But
Thank you.
this is where I want to make the this is going to be a transfer into this line, this is going to be a transfer into this line,
Okay,
both these two.
okay.
This will cover your dump truck in your,
Mhm.
I wrote it over here. We'll move that into point two.
Okay, so wait a second, so June, why don't you,
I can't
She wants
give
more
you the,
information.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know where the revenue is.
oh, okay, so then we can, is there stuff that you need to, that you wanted to?
I'll come in and I'll get it from the bookkeeper, and then we'll go over next week your meeting?
No, we're not meeting for 2 weeks, but
Okay.
there was some, how was, you concerned about impacting what? Because you wanted,
Well, the impact is because personnel's overdrawn.
no, we
It's starting to
understand
We're
put the
still
other
gonna pay the
lines in the
salaries.
red.
that.
Yeah.
No, I
doesn't
understand
matter.
that, but it doesn't matter, we're gonna have to find money for
And we're
those,
gonna
we're
move the
take care of
money
it.
for you
Okay.
because we know what happened.
Yeah, so if
to
we
your
have to move it from a
personnel line.
completely different line, we'll take it, that's not your problem.
Wait, I don't wanna talk for everyone, but everyone does remember what happened to Laura on the personnel line, okay?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna fix your personnel
Yay,
line,
Right, so
so
I'm-
we want you to stop worrying about that.
Okay.
Okay.
I've only told her that about,
We're not
I
gonna
know.
tell you.
Five
Well,
thousand
but-
We're not
Well,
gonna
now
tell
she
you.
has 5 people telling
Okay.
her.
but,
We're not gonna tell you to go home with no pay, don't you worry.
And-
no, but I
Pay
still wanna
everybody.
understand the
I work
stuff that
for
you
the
want.
sure love of it.
We can fix, we can cover we can make a transfer for the truck. However, Jeff's report is August, I don't have a report, and I don't see the revenue. I have got to see the revenue in the line with 0 budgeted before we increase the line and give it to Laura in her expense line. You can make a budget modification.
No, we understand that.
Once you see it.
No, I understand all that, but she wants to, you want to, there's certain things you have to take care of to get ordered in order to comply with this
Right, which
ability
I've
to
put
put
in
in for
the
the grant.
purchase orders for them.
Okay,
I
well,
just-
the
it's-
board
it's kind
already
of a wait
approved-
and see.
And have I
We-
approved it?
Wait a minute, no, I thought
You've
we
been busy.
approved with,
The budget.
No, I thought we approved with the highway thing that the truck
Yeah.
was
We
coming
did,
out of
okay.
2012, and then it was a
Yeah.
board decision. I thought
Yes.
we did this
So
at a
we
meeting.
Well,
did.
basically, I'll
So you
keep
can move forward on
looking at
that.
the money and we'll move
Yeah,
forward.
yeah, don't worry about where
and-
we're gonna put the
okay.
money from, you can,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Alright.
what was the other thing you were worried about? Because we did make that board
Yes,
decision.
You
yeah,
did,
yes,
okay.
yes, so you can move
Alright.
forward with that. And don't worry about where it's coming out of.
I mean, I
Well,
did put in
No,
for
it's
it, but I
coming out
just
of-
wanted to make sure there was
It's
money
coming
in
out
the
of point,
accounts.
half is coming out of your point two, and half is coming out of Chris's point two. That's what the board agreed.
Right.
Am I right?
Right.
Right, so don't worry, and I think Chris already, well, you
He's-
guys are
He's all set
supposed,
to move forward.
you guys are moving, yeah,
Yeah,
okay, so stop waiting,
okay.
because the year's closing.
All right, yeah, I know, that's
Alright,
why
so
I'm
what was-
trying to.
so
No,
what
no,
was the
I
other
went
thing?
ahead-
Was another
I
thing?
did put in the POs, but I can't put in a PO request, it's more of a half of a requisition, and then I have to wait for Patty to force it in the system.
Yeah, okay, it's an
And
override.
then Susan takes a look at it,
Yeah,
and,
no, no, I'll approve it,
Okay.
that's not a problem.
all right.
It is a problem to get me to approve
It
anything,
is.
but I will.
Bring
I'll
it
approve
into
Well, it is
Susan,
if-
well,
especially if
because
it's not-
that freeze, she's gonna,
Because I'm,
That's budget. I
can't,
know.
because I'm nasty.
Okay.
I'm
What is there, was there something else you were worried about?
Just that,
Okay,
just
great,
that I'm
okay.
asking for
Okay.
money that's
Okay.
really not there
Okay.
unless I
So
start
you're gonna-
moving it
so
into
you're
the
gonna- yeah,
account.
but
So
that's up
if
to
you're
us,
sure you're
yes.
okay with that, then I'm
absolutely, you're
good.
gonna bring me the right reports.
I will bring you the right
And
reports.
we'll fix it all at the next meeting,
Okay,
promise.
okay, and then I'll make sure tomorrow that I check on the check on the truck so we can get that going.
Okay, that's good,
Okay.
that's good. All right, thank
Okay.
you then.
Okay, great.
Aye.
Okay, so before
Did you
we,
write yourself a note about the truck?
I did not, but I will remember to check the truck.
She'll see the PO request
Um,
confirmed, so.
Okay, so I will make a note right there about,
Are we like not paying for heat or something? Did you cut off Central Hudson?
It's at a very reasonable 70,
Oh.
70 degrees.
70, I can live with 70, I think it's at 65.
Well, we all have this layer of,
Oh, man.
Hence me
That
with
you
the
don't
scarf
have,
and the
right.
2 layers of clothing.
no, I'm not talking
okay,
about a layer
okay,
of
can we
clothing, I'm
just,
talking about a
as
layer
long
of-
as we have the cameras
you know.
here, okay, so before we just, why don't we just take care of these other things, then we can tell the cameras that they can, go home. And I will just quickly tell about the discussion with Bill before we make a motion to see if the board wants to go into executive session. Can I have a motion to,
I make a motion to approve the prepayment of Liberty Security Services for the deposit for the security system at the courthouse in the amount of $1,147.50.
Second.
okay, Jeff, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then the other one is, unfortunately, I'll just tell you very quickly that, our assessor did call up the state to talk about the police department and the taxes, and in essence, what the state said was, that probably the town should have never negotiated a contract that, paid for taxes independently, and it should have been into the rent, but since, since we don't own the building, we're renting the building, that, tough luck, we've gotta pay the taxes, and so, I will hate to sign this check, however, we're pretty much,
We're bound.
well, not even just that we're bound, we're sort of like out of compliance with the contract.
Okay. I make a
I mean, they've been calling all
motion
the time.
to approve the prepayment of the voucher to 83 South Putt Corners Road Holding Company for the,
School taxes.
school tax bill from July 1st, 2012 to June 30th, 2013 in the amount of $5,842.68.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we don't have the money in the budget for next year for the school tax bill and the town tax bill, but we'll find the money, I'm not too worried about it.
Well,
But,
what if we
Did you
just
want to attach both
negotiate?
of these?
well, we could try to we'll see
You
if
want
we're
to
gonna.
attach both of these to that, to the
Sure,
notes you're
sure,
taking,
sure.
just so, just
Yeah,
for approved
yeah.
on.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Okay, and then, we didn't do the in-kind.
Oh,
What is that?
This is the in-kind services for the, community partnership, work that they have to do for the federal government. So this just quantifies,
And why do we have
because-
to approve it?
because I have to sign it and I won't sign anything without the board telling me that they
Oh, well,
approve
then
my
I can
signature.
see what you're signing.
And we actually are, we are embodying town funds too, because we actually do pay for the internet, we do pay for the phone service. It's real money that we are spending.
Okay, so, really?
That's so we can get the grant.
Doesn't matter, I won't sign it without.
Wait a
approving
minute.
it.
Just attach that.
Yeah.
to the-
What?
That's all.
Oh,
This is for the,
It's
Those
for,
are in kind.
it's in kind for the
right,
grant,
Because we let her use
Right.
community
yeah,
office.
and we do
for
pay.
free.
yes.
Well,
Well, it's our in kind for
It's
the
our
grant.
it's not,
It's our
it's
contribution
Yes.
to
our
this
contribution
grant.
to get the millions.
Who are you talking to?
We're spending.
I'm talking to you, Gene,
Yeah.
and you know that and understand it more than anybody.
That's a lot of in-kind.
But it's a
That's what
five
they-
hundred thousand dollar grant.
That's what they required.
Over
It's
five
500,000.
Over 5
Actually,
years.
it's
Yeah, but it's 100,000.
625,000.
But it's a hundred thousand a year or a hundred and twenty-five a year, so that's
And
not
the
actually a
numbers-
lot.
And the numbers they came up with, apparently, Gene, and you would know better than us, are apparently those are the standard. Like, what the value is of square footage and all that is pretty.
But anyway, when you think it's $125,000 a year, $11,000 is what, 10%, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I signed it. Are you guys authorizing me to sign it?
I make a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the community partnership in-kind report as reported for 2011-12.
Second.
All in
All
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion so carried. Okay, let me just write this, the partnership, okay. I'm gonna ask for a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of, discussing the framework of negotiations for all of the contracts. We will not negotiate, tonight, we will not, the only thing we'll talk about relative to the lieutenant's contract tonight is how we will move forward in negotiating the lieutenant's contract. But we're not gonna talk about specifics of the lieutenant's contract tonight. We're gonna just do the other three contracts, what some of the boundaries are and what some of the board members are looking for to give our labor attorney a little bit of insight, and for him to give us a little bit of background of what, you know, the current sort of status is of police negotiations around the state. And, so it's really just sort of parameters. And we're not gonna talk about the lieutenant's contract, other than to choose how we're going to handle the lieutenant's contract, in the 2 weeks from now.
Well,
We're not gonna discuss
Okay.
the specifics. We're gonna
Well,
just
but we
discuss whether or
did-
not it's,
we-
should be done in executive session or not.
we are going to discuss
We will
whether,
ask the attorney whether, okay, there are two different opinions from the perspective of that, yes, if it's just discussing a lieutenant's contract,
a generic,
a generic lieutenant's
Right.
contract, that yes, that is appropriate to do it in public.
right,
And however, if we're negotiating the contract with a specific individual, then that you would do you would not do in public.
right.
Okay, so how we
I'm
want to
frozen.
choose to move forward with the lieutenant's contract, we will discuss and make a decision, and then we'll
No,
do it appropriately.
I need a
Whether
With
or
all
not-
due respect, we do, it's a vacant position. We do not have anybody in that position right now. And this is the one opportunity that our constituents have to hear how a contract is structured.
Okay, we can, well, since we're not going to make the negotiation tonight, we're not gonna make the decision, we can have a conversation about that approach from the perspective of, from my perspective, because of who I knew, was being considered for lieutenant, might have made me more susceptible to funding a lieutenant's position. So for me, it might be because, you know, so for me, I look at it as negotiating with a particular person, where you're looking at it as negotiating for a particular position.
Well,
Okay, and so, and I think,
But I think it's really, this is the first opportunity I've had since I've been on the town
Yeah.
board to discuss a contract that is not tied to a
but we can
person
make that, we
or,
can,
but I don't think we can,
we're
I
not gonna,
don't
we're
think
not,
it's a
we're-
decision for us to make. It is that.
well, no,
right
all I'm
now.
saying is we don't have to make the decision at this moment. We're not discussing the lieutenant's contract tonight.
But
discussing
that
the other
was the
three
main
contract-
thing that we told the, police commission at our last meeting that we would be discussing tonight.
I never actually, didn't tell the police commission anything.
I
and-
thought we ended the last meeting, there was a request at the very end to,
They wanted us to
accept
make
the
an appointment.
contract and make
No,
an
no,
appointment.
they didn't ask us to accept the contract. They asked us to make the appointment and then said that the contract could be negotiated after the fact and then whatever,
We,
blah, blah,
we
blah.
wanted to see the contract.
And we chose not to do it.
Right.
And it just said, we'll deal with it later. We had made the decision to meet tonight because I know the PBA wants to negotiate, UPI wants it, whatever
Yeah,
UP.
those-
the teachers
those
wanna
items
negotiate, so-
We absolutely need to do.
Right,
and
so
we
that
need
was
to do
my
in
purpose for
executive
tonight.
session.
Right.
I guess I would just like to get a sense of the board about whether or not,
I did promise Bill we would call him, and he
I
already started.
understand, but I wanna understand if we defer this conversation.
I would suggest that I'm perfectly fine negotiating and discussing what you're recommending. If we get an opinion from council that gives us the green light to do that, I think we can get
Okay.
that tonight.
Okay,
Okay,
I'll accept that.
okay, so I would like a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of talking about the parameters of contract negotiation.
So moved.
Do I have a
Second.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Okay, Jean,
Hi, Ray.
Ray, what's going on?
Jen,
Tired.
What?
Tired.
I always look tired,
What's the latest?
especially when the sun goes down
It's on-
and when it comes up.
Gene, why don't you get the town to buy you a seat with a seat warmer? You could plug it
No,
right in.
it is cold in here
It is,
tonight.
especially here.
It isn't usually this
Your
cold.
battery operated jacket.
I'm freezing.
You need to get something electric.
No, they did it on purpose. They turned the heat down